A series of progressing air masses will definitely increase the activity in our weather in the Great Lakes region over the next couple of days. In this video, I'm going to talk about the temperature changes that we're going to be happening, the freeze that we are expecting tonight, as well as the potential for severe weather across the Great Lakes region over the next several days. Hello everybody, the time is 8:57 p.m. and it is October 22nd. Welcome to another update from Great Lakes Weather. Hopefully everybody is doing well. We're talking about a series of pattern changes that's likely going to occur across the Great Lakes region over the next few days. Tonight we're going to see our first freeze across many spots and likely some frost for quite a few areas, ending the growing season as we know it. Won't have to mow your grass for much longer. And then it really looks like this weather is going to kind of take off over the next couple of days in regards to precipitation and activity across the Great Lakes region. I'm not really seeing severe weather except for the potential of maybe seeing a few severe thunderstorms this weekend. So I'm watching it carefully, maybe potential for one last storm chase this year. But it does currently seem kind of confusing because the models are very spread out. GFS definitely has not much agreement with the Euro at this time, so I'm just going to show you the Euro, give you an idea of what it's showing, but the GFS definitely does not agree on the setup for this. But we're going to get right into it. First of all, I'm going to talk about what we are expecting tonight with the freeze that's going to be occurring. So let's go to a quick temperature map here from the at NAM3K. Again, NAM3K kind of depicts how cold it will get across some spots. As we get into the early morning, 7 a.m. is being shown here. You do see that there is temperatures in the 20s across parts of Ohio, Indiana, even parts of southern Michigan included as well. Places close to the lake may not get as cold because of, again, the lake kind of keeps things a little bit warmer, but you see that it's going to freeze across much of the Great Lakes region overnight tonight, which will end the growth of your lawn as well as any other plants in the area. Temperatures will begin to kind of build up, and you'll notice that you will see that warmer air mass is beginning to filter into the area. Temperatures may even get into the 70s across parts of Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio on Tuesday. Temperatures in the mid, even upper 70s in some spots. And then you notice that there is a well-defined cold front kind of sitting off here, and that is actually going to have a pretty impactful effect the way that this pattern is setting up across the Great Lakes region over the next several days. So I'm going to show you that in just a minute. But first of all, I want to get to what we're expecting in terms of precipitation on Tuesday, because again, the marginal risk is being put out for parts of Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Iowa right now. You do see that there's going to be a low pressure system kind of riding along the region between the two air masses, and what we're going to see is development of a few showers and thunderstorms across parts of Wisconsin, Minnesota, Iowa. Marginal risk for severe weather in this area as depicted by the Storm Prediction Center. The reason why that is again, we do have that low pressure system that's going to be moving through, and it is a low instability, moderate shear setup, I would say, across parts of the region. Directional shear is present. You got lower cloud bases. You have instability going all the way up into the higher levels of the atmosphere, higher dew points, relative humidity close to 100% at this point. Storm relativity around over 100, enough to foster some stronger storms capable of producing some marginally severe hail, maybe some damaging wind gusts, but most likely more in the form of hail. So that is kind of what is being expected across parts of this region. I don't think it's going to make it too far into the Upper Peninsula, and I definitely don't think it's going to make it into this region either. The remaining precipitation most likely will, but that's not going to be the case otherwise. Now I want to show you this. This is the 500 millibar height anomaly. So what this is kind of showing the I guess changes at different levels of the atmosphere. The higher pressure again is associated with lower pressure at the ground, and then the lower pressure aloft is associated with higher pressure at the surface. So you're going to kind of get an idea that, again, places where you see red, you're going to have warmer air that's going to start to rise, and that's actually going to contribute to strengthening potential for some thunderstorms across Michigan, Indiana, Ohio later towards the end of the week. Now again, I'm showing you just one model. The GFS does not have much agreement with this model at all. Euro does tend to be a little bit more reliable on these things, which is why I'm going by this one right now. But this is not a forecast. This is just showing you what the models are currently depicting for later on this week. It's just giving you an idea of what the models are currently reading, and then and then maybe it'll play out in a later forecast later on. So here we have a a ridge building in. That's that ridge that's going to bring us, that could bring us temperatures in the 70s, mid 70s for parts of the Great Lakes region, according to the Euro model. And then what you notice here is that you have this trough that's kind of settling off farther to the west, this cool air mass, and it's actually going to set up a nice little passageway for low pressure systems over the next few days. Now the Euro's playing this out as this is going to be the case. GFS does not even say that. GFS really says that there's not really going to be as much deepening of this trough up here. Rather, it's going to be more along the lines of just a relatively warmer air mass still kind of cutting across this area. So again, there's a lot of disagreement with this setup, but again, we're gonna show the Euro because generally the Euro is more reliable. So usually when you look at the height anomaly, the places where low pressure systems really like to travel is the region right in between the two air masses, because again, you have warmer air coming out of the south here, and then you also have nice cool air coming from the north in this area, giving that counterclockwise motion of winds between the two air masses. Low pressure begins to develop, make its way up into the region. Again, and you also have that, you likely have a 500 millibar jet that's going to be further initiating the movement of that wind or that air across this line here. So low pressure systems, stronger low pressure systems will likely occur in this area if the Euro model does play out in the way that it is showing it. And what you'll notice here is that this ridge will eventually be pushed out by the cooler air mass, and look at how that trough just digs right into parts of the Great Lakes region. We're going to have temperatures that are definitely going to get into freezing in some spots. Might even see some lake effect rain, lake effect wintry mix maybe. Never know what could occur with this, but just keep in mind that we may have a setup for some decent weather over the next couple of days, particularly as we get into the weekend. So that's just something to be watching out for. And I'm going to show you how the Euro is playing that out. It actually is playing out some tornado potential next weekend. Now, we're going to have to watch a few different dynamics with this setup because, again, you can't confirm it, but let me show you how this plays out with the 500 millibar height. So this is showing the winds in the upper levels of the atmosphere associated with the jet stream. And as we get into that later on in the weekend, you do notice that that jet does really increase by the time we get into Sunday evening into Sunday night, and it really takes off in between that ridge and that trough there. Now, what you notice is that it really does strengthen as we get into Monday afternoon with 500 millibar height values of 80 to 90 knots, rather intense, but the expectation is that the stronger storm activity will likely occur, if any does occur. Again, keep in mind this is still not really something we can confirm just yet. It would likely occur across parts of southern Michigan, northern Indiana, northern Ohio. So that's kind of the thing I'm going to be watching more carefully over the week, because this could be the thing that actually, brings the possibility of another storm chase into the mix. And you do see that, wow, the wind flow associated with these air masses is rather strong and widespread across much of the eastern continental United States. So this is something to watch carefully, especially if the GFS starts to align with the Euro. Let's take a look at how it plays out on the precipitation map. So if you go, again, as we get into Tuesday, we have that development of those stronger storms possible across parts of Iowa, Wisconsin, Minnesota. The remnant precipitation moves into Michigan, Indiana, and Ohio, progresses off to the east. And then on Thursday, around 7 a.m., you do see another setup for some precipitation, maybe a few thunderstorms associated with another low pressure system following that line that I was showing you in the previous graphic. And it will progress off through the Upper Peninsula. And then a third low pressure system possibly might take off and push its way into the region as well. And interesting thing about 7 p.m. on Monday, you get a sounding out here in southeastern Michigan. It is showing the potential for some mild tornado potential. You got low wind shear at the surface, you got high speed shear up above, you've got some setup for some directional shear. You do have a little bit of surface cape, not looking too strong. It looks like it would be more of a shear driven setup. You do have instability, a little bit of instability, not too much though. Your dews are in the mid 60s according to the Euro model. You do have steepening lapse rates, and your storm relativity values are getting close to 300. Very strong shear for that setup. But again, Still some questions about this. I don't think the GFS agrees with this at all. In fact, let's do a quick comparison of the models here for next weekend. I'm going to pause it at 7 p.m. on Monday if I can freeze frame it at hour 180. And then we're going to do a quick model comparison here. You compare it to the GDPS. GDPS does show that rainfall. It doesn't show the stronger storms though. And it doesn't really show the higher instability. It does show that high dew. GFS, see, again, there's your discrepancy there. Monday it shows the front is already really passing through much of the region, and it shows much cooler temperatures across Michigan. So that's why there's still a lot of questions with this setup. But the Euro does tend to play this out as a bit more of a intense, which is weird because the Euro doesn't. I don't typically foresee the Euro to play out more intense than the GFS. But again, that's kind of what is being shown here by the Euro. So there's a lot of questions, but it's something to just watch out for. So just something to watch out for with this. And then as we continue forward, this is going into very long range, but you do see like still a progression of quite a few different air mass changes ongoing across the continental United States as we go into next month. So just the next thing to watch out for, first of all, the freeze tonight. The potential for thunderstorms that we have here in this region on Tuesday. And then what I'm going to be watching more carefully is this setup for possible severe weather on next weekend, according to the Euro. Currently just basing it off one model, okay? So that's something not really the most ideal situation to undergo. But again, keep in mind the GFS only plays out temperatures in the 40s. Which is a huge difference than what the Euro is depicting, which is going to be temperatures in the mid to upper 60s with dew points in the low 60s, in the mid 60s as well. So still a lot of questions, a lot of things to break down, but I'm gonna try to keep you posted on it as it comes out. Make sure to subscribe and stay updated. Still raising all those questions over the next few days. I'll be checking it day by day, probably posting some updates across the social media feeds. Make sure to check us out on YouTube. We're also on Facebook, Instagram. And we will find you on there. So thanks for watching. Hopefully this video was helpful and informational to you, and I will see you all later.